Hey guys, Dr. Mike Dusa, MTFU, longevity over 50. How are you? Kind of a weird, little bit of a different topic tonight. I was sitting in the gym earlier today and I do my fasted cardio and then I sit down and I have my meal and then I wait 30 minutes, do the weights, do some more cardio and leave. As I was sitting there eating my meal, a guy approached me. I've seen him over the years. I don't know his name, but it's just like anybody you see in the gym. You see a lot of people, you know them by sight, you say hello and that's it. So it was one of those things. I don't know his name, but he came up to me and he just asked me out of the blue. He says, Dr. Dusa. I go, yeah. I'm always wary when people come up to me and say, are you Dr. Dusa? You never know what's coming. He says, I got to ask you, are you rich? And I heard what he said, but I had to ask him. I go, excuse me? He said, are you like a wealthy man? And I said, well, why do you ask? And he said, well, you're always tan. You're in the gym sometimes twice a day. I see you here a lot. And it seems like you have a lot of available time. That's what he assumes. And I answered him. I said, well, I didn't really directly answer him, but I said, I've built my life in a certain way where I'm able to do things that I truly want to do, not to sound overly cavalier. And I told him a couple other things, and that was it. And he was kind of on his way. So I don't know if I answered his question. It doesn't really matter. And I don't even know why he would care or why anybody would care. But, really, as far as being rich or wealthy, it depends on how you define that. The type of currency I talk about when you want to talk about wealth or being rich is time. Really being able to do what you want, where you want to do it at, with whom you want to do it at any given time. That to me is being rich. That's freedom, and that's something I've strived my whole life to build to the point where I can live that way, which I do now. I retired from chiropractic about 10 years ago. I can't believe it's 10 years. I did very well, but as I've talked about in my writings and some of my videos in the past, I damn near killed myself the way I work, because that was the way I ensured that I would be successful. Meaning I'd maybe not work so smart, but I'd overwork. I'd work easily 100 hours a week for years and years. And looking back, comparing my life then to the way I live now, I did not live very well at all. I made a lot of money some years, and some years I didn't. Healthcare is it's like a funny bunch of squirrels. Healthcare, it's hard to figure out. And frankly, I'm glad I'm out. That's another story. But one thing I always did was, number one, I've never had any kids. And this reminds me of a quick story. A girl I was dating at one point, we were sitting in a restaurant and she kept pressing me, you want kids? We should have kids. Let's have kids, kids, kids. And then she ended up saying that I was selfish because I didn't want kids. And I had to turn that. I had to topsy-turvy that stuff on her. I said, actually, Jane, that wasn't her name, you're the one who's selfish, because you feel unless you reproduce and replicate and make more of you, meaning have kids, the world will be poorer. I don't feel that way about myself. I don't think we need more Michael Deuces. And she pretty much told me, shut the fuck up, right there. But, not having kids and never buying a humongous house and all that other stuff that you're expected to do when you're a doctor, I never did, because I didn't feel it. I didn't feel that was a truism for me, so I never did it. In fact, I lived in a condo up the street from my beautiful office. That should have been my house. And I was a single guy, a bodybuilder who shaved his body with a cat. So I was looked at as being weird, and that's fine. I had a very wealthy patient who was a good friend of mine. One day he was telling me, he says, the way you live, Mike, that's not successful. And this was my friend Tim, very, very successful guy. He was an orphan, grew up to become like a business titan in the area. He came in one day and I looked at him and his head looked like it was going to pop. His blood pressure was so high. And I says, Tim, you're going to die. And sure enough, a month later, he died. And I'm not comparing me to him, the way I lived versus the way he lived, but he got into this paradigm where he thought he had to have this tremendous pressure and all this stuff that he owned. And long story short, it ended up killing him. And I was all about health, all about me. But the irony is there, when I had my practice, I ended up almost killing myself, overworking myself to death. And that was not freedom, even though the money was there. I mean, in fact, the only way I was able to put away 50% of my money for years and years every single month was I had no time to spend it. I know that sounds nuts, but it was true. But to this day now, I've set myself up where I have time. I can wake up. I do the things I love to do every single day. I'm not waiting until I'm, a toothless senior, where I have to eye hungrily the buffet and I can't eat anything because I have no teeth left. And that to me is a broken paradigm or narrative that people follow. You've got to do it now. I've said often I don't wear a watch because the time is always now, and I know a lot of stuff sounds cliche or corny to some of you, but this is exactly how I do it. So yeah, sometimes I work out twice a day. I tan every day, almost every day. I used to have a tanning bed in my house, not anymore. And those are my passions. And I still work, even though I retired from chiropractic. I still have to earn and generate. But I do things that are the things I do now. I don't care if they end up making money. And let me tell you why that's the only way to do it. I had a student at Quinnipiac where I teach years ago, and I was talking to some of the students, and one girl, I asked her, what's your goal? And she says, well, I want to make $1 million. I go, all right, well, you're probably not going to. And she was kind of put off. She's like, why? I said, well, because how are you going to do that? And she says, I don't know. Well, if you don't have the goodness, the fabric, the passion in traveling towards getting that $1 million, you're not going to get it, because that's an abstract. It doesn't mean anything. You do something that you love. If you happen to make a ton of money, it'll happen. So I have 3 computer screens here. There's 3 different businesses that I work on. One produces money, one breaks even, one's losing money right now. So it'll work out. I'm not going to die. There's not vultures flapping over my head ready to eat my dying flesh. That's not going to happen. But I enjoy thoroughly what I do every single day. I have freedom. That is my wealth right there. The number doesn't matter. How much do you make? That's all bullshit. I live in Connecticut. Figure it out. It's very expensive here. It's pathetically expensive. They have funny rules here. When you go to pay for your mortgage and your food, they want money, lots of it. So I don't want to hear any of this granola from these young kids where they just want to help. They don't want to make money. What are you, out of your mind? If you're putting forth value, which I do, very high value, I'm getting paid. All right? And people who value themselves will pay you. So that's freedom. Do you have freedom? Are you going, listen, your favorite line from one of the Batman movies, structures become shackles, okay? You've got credit card debt. Warren Buffett said, probably the worst thing that could happen to anyone is you get behind that 8 ball that is credit card debt, you'll probably never get out from under or behind it, all right? Avoid that. Don't buy all the shit, the big house, the extra car, the bling, the stupid watch, especially if you can't buy the stuff for cash and not even feel it. Okay, but the line from Batman, structures become shackles. Your structure is your house. Your house poor. You got a huge car payment every month. That's you're shackled. You're not free, man. And the worst thing is you might be, maybe you've got some soul-sucking job that pays a lot, but you hate it. Life goes by like this, and then you're dead, and then 1,000 years goes by, and you're forgotten. Okay, and then you're dust, and that's it. Nobody cares, and nobody should. So am I wealthy? Am I rich? Yeah, probably more wealthy than anyone I personally know. And I don't mean this in a cavalier way. I can do anything I want tomorrow. Okay. Now that doesn't mean I'm going to buy a Learjet. I'm going to go lose 100 grand at a poker table at Vegas or whatever. But for the things I want to do, the pointed activities and passions that I pursue, I can do it all right now. I can do it again and again and again because I set my life up that way. Okay, and I took the hits. I made mistakes. I took huge losses. I got very sick. I had $1 million in medical bills. I did not go bankrupt. I paid it all back. All right. I tear the shit up, man. I kick ass every day, and you can too. But you've got to have balls of steel. You cannot care about what anybody else thinks about you. I drive a 2002 Cadillac, and one of my friends at the gym said, Doc, time to buy a new car. I'm like, well, dude, it gets me here. And here's the most, I told him this, and he kind of stopped in the middle. Here's my most powerful premise that I follow in my financially free life, and I'm going to leave you with this. Do not have, but be able to have. Okay? So don't have the power, if that's money, to get anything that you really want at any given time. And then don't necessarily get it, but you know if you want it, you just pull the lever and it's there. It works, man. I'm telling you. And you can do it, but you got to get on a stick. And that's about it. So in any event, Dr. Mike Dusa, MTFU Longevity Over 50. Go forth and conquer. Thank you.